Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Patrice Jenkins and I'm a 3rd and 4th grade teacher in Illinois. Today, I'm going to show you how I plan for back to school using digital resources, specifically Google Slides. In today's video, I'm going to discuss 4 things: creating, tweaking, planning, implementing. The first thing I want to do, I want to take all the materials that I may have created or bought over the years, and I want to decide exactly what I want to use for my slideshow. The second thing, create Google templates that I can use over and over again. The third thing is I want to actually tweak materials that I already have, already own, and kind of implement them into a digital slideshow. And then last but not least, I want to be able to be ready for day 1, which would ultimately lead me ready for the week. Okay, so once you open up a new Google Slide document, it will look like this. And you want to go ahead and name it. And we're going to call this Back to School Slideshow. Or we can say Back to School Slides. And then we want to call this our master copy. And we'll go back to that later in the video. Okay, so over here, they're going to have themes that you can implement. We're going to just go out of that. So for this right here, most of the time you can leave it the way you want, but because we are inserting things, then we would remove these. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump over to the slideshow that I already created. My first day of school is projected to be Monday, August the 17th. So the slide that I created is Welcome to the First Day of School, Love Mrs. Jenkins. And then I used my Bitmoji because I just think it's so cool. You can create your own Bitmoji by downloading the extension on your computer. And so I just tabbed it up here on my extension doohickey thing up there. Okay, so in order to create your first slide, you want to make sure that they are cohesive. I'm all about branding with school and with my personal life. So what I like to do is for the slideshow, I like to either buy templates or I like to create them. This is a template that I already bought. So the second slide is the same thing, but all I did was copy it. So let's say that I wanted to copy it here, just because this isn't created yet. We want to match the styles in this presentation, bring this up to the first one, and then let's just make sure that this fits within the box. Okay, and then we want to center it. All right, now these slides are editable. So for this right here, I like to use Century Gothic because it's really easy for all the students to see and understand. So then all I did was make sure that as I type this in that I bolded it so it stands out. And then for here, I just typed my message, okay? So as I said, this template's already created. And then if I want to duplicate the slide to type the next one in, then I can do that. So let's go to my next slide. This is my welcome message. And then the template that I bought already has a section for the date. And then the third slide, this is where I said to you that you need to gather all your back to school materials. All the materials that you want to use from this point forward would go here. If you were paying attention to my last video, I did give you an inside scoop on my actual back to school lesson plans, which were available for you to download. So then you can just go into your lesson plans, which I would do here, and I titled mine the first week of school. Okay, so as I'm putting information in, this is where I house it. As you can see, it's tons of different things, but the main thing is I wanted to use the activities that I'm actually going to use for the first week of school. And then you can copy and paste it if you want, or you can just break it down. So for instance, my first week suggestions that were listed here, like hopes and dreams or class challenges, I implemented them into my agenda. So I have intros and announcements, putting away supplies, and if we go back here, as I said, all of this is what I'm taking from here, the activities. And then if you want to get a little bit more detailed than that, then you can go into your actual lesson plan, which is what I do. Okay, so here's Monday. Every little thing that I have here, I'm now implementing in here. I teach at a Christian school, so we're starting with worship. Then we're going into our read aloud snack, and I'm going to use that time to introduce myself in detail to my students as they're eating their snack. Brain break are also plugged in here. Class picture. I always take a first day of school picture before we do recess. Lunch, my next read aloud, building our class community. And again, all I did was just type these in. And then the second part of the day, another brain break. I do the name jar activity as well as read aloud. I'm going to show the students slides for the class library. We do a fire drill procedure. I do my first team building activity to end the day, which is going to be Hey Me Too, which is here. End of day procedures, kind of like telling the kids, hey, I don't want you to leave without saying goodbye or giving me an air hug. I'll read a read aloud at the end of the day while my students are dismissing, and then this is the time period for dismissal. So this is all presented on my projector at school. So now I'm just going to show you how I break it down, starting with a morning meeting. And as we do the morning meeting, I would click on this link and it would take me to intro songs. I always sing an intro song with the Fresh instrumental, and then for worship we would go into our worship songs. So that's that. The reason why there was only one worship song is because I would ask the kids, do they have any suggestions after I intro with the one I chose, okay? When you're gathering your materials for the first week of school that aren't already digital, make sure that you use things that are easy to convert. Creating a PDF is easy, but taking a PDF and turning it into a digital product can be pretty frustrating. So if you have something that's 1 page, 2 pages, it's pretty easy. And then you can just insert that into your Google slide. When I first started planning for back to school, I knew that I wanted to implement Google Slides and Google Drive specifically because I used Google Classroom all last school year. The best thing to do is create templates so that you can reuse over and over again without starting from square one. This is the part of creating Google Slides templates. We've gathered all our back to school materials that we want to use. I've shown you how to do that. Now we want to create Google Slide templates. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the page setup. I don't like using widescreen. I like to customize it to fit a piece of paper. So we're going to do 11 by 8.5. And then we're going to hit apply. And there we go. Okay, so when we think about creating Google Slide templates, this is pretty easy. I'll show you in our master over here. The first thing you want to do is you want to utilize shapes. And because I like to have templates that kind of look the same and that are cohesive, I'm just modeling it after the one that I previously made. So in order to do that, you want to change the font first, so you don't have to worry about that later. And then we want to change the color, the fill color, and we want to do transparent. But then the outside of the box, we want to change the border weight. I always do around 4 or 8. And then if you want to change the highlight color from gray, we want to do that black. And then you just size it to fit the length of your slide, okay? So then from there, if you take a look at my master here, I have this probably at an 8. So we're gonna change the width to 8. There we go, and it stands out. Now in order to add the text, you can highlight the whole box And then I'm gonna go and fix that to century again. I used what size? 49. So we're gonna do 49. Let's type it in. And then the name of this one is, oh God, Made You, right? And the book is a read aloud. And I put that there. And then we want to center it. And then we want to bold it. Okay? So that's how I created that. And then as far as making a slide that tells the students what we're doing, I just created another text box. So my box took up half of my slide. And then I just would type in here my information. And then over here on the side, in order to get the picture, I just went to Google. I typed in when God made you, and then the images, I usually take them from Amazon, and then you can just save it as, and I save it to my desktop. And then when you save it to your desktop, it's easy to find it. It doesn't matter whatever you name it. And then when I go back to my slideshow, I'm gonna hit the insert image and upload from computer, and there it is. And then I have my picture, okay? So that's how I created that. So you wanna continue to create your template each time you get ready to type something if you haven't already bought one. So for instance, because I wanted to take the time to create a new template just for my read aloud, I could easily just go ahead and copy to make the next one. But the objective slides are a little bit different because there's no picture here. So I included the objective next, and then my activity for the students where we would stop after I've read it and then actually have some discussion questions. So that's how I create my Google Slide templates. Planning ahead of time and organizing are a great way to give you the success that you want when you know you're going to do online learning. And even if you're in the classroom, using Google Slides is a really great tool to keep you organized and to keep your students engaged. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I tweak what I already own. We've already talked about gathering all your back to school materials and deciding what you want to use digitally. We've talked about creating Google Slide templates. So now we're talking about tweaking what we already own. So as you can see here, in my daily lesson plan, I am doing the day you begin on the first day of school. This is a resource that I want to utilize. Normally, I would read the book and give my students handouts, but I had to turn it into an assignment that I can do online. So technically, I could just use this as an assignment that we are doing together instead of saying, okay, if you guys have your tablets, here's the link, go ahead and work on it with me, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to do this with the class and be able to type in and all of that. So in order to tweak the lesson, I'm going to go into PowerPoint, and this is where you would grab your resource if you bought this from my store, and you can insert it into your Google Slide. The cool thing about this is Google Slides are very similar to PowerPoint. So let's say that I wanted to do my first activity, find someone who. The only thing that I actually did was go into my PowerPoint presentation, copy it, and then let's create, since we're using this new slide, we're gonna delete this, and then we're gonna copy it and paste, and then paste it, okay? So as you can see here, you can obviously resize it, and then let's go into presentation mode. We can actually see how big it's gonna be. Perfect, voila! Right? Okay, so that's how you do that. So then in my other slide, I wanted to do the story map. And my story map is here. So I'm going to copy it. And we want to duplicate slide, delete that. Boom. And then let's go into present mode. And there we go. Now, you might be asking yourself, but how can you type on it if you're doing it together? Easy. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this. And the screenshot, I'm gonna leave there for a second. We're gonna delete this and we're going to insert it as a background image. We're gonna go into browse and there's our screenshot. Done. And then it does allow you, now this won't be moving, okay, and then you can type here, and then you can just leave this here so that you can do that over and over again. So basically, now that that's in there, you can copy this box and put it in the other boxes like this, okay? And then we want to do one more time, and then there we go. Now let's look at it in present mode. There you go. The other documents that I inserted, I did the same thing. All I did was take a screenshot or copy and paste, and there you have it. All right, so we've talked about how we tweak what we already own and how we can insert it into a Google slide. So there's two ways to do it. You can copy and paste. Like if I wanted my comprehension questions, copy. I'm going to duplicate slide. We can take this away. We can insert it like this. Okay, so there's your document from your PDF. And then if you wanted to add text over it, you can do it this way, but just keep in mind that this document moves. If you don't want it to move like this one, then you insert it as a background image, okay? So that's how you tweak what you already own. Okay, now we are talking about our last category. When we're planning, we want to make sure that we're prepared for the day. So in total, I have all of my slides here, and there are 87 slides, and this is for the entire day. By any means necessary, you make it work. You don't have to do it like this, but this is how I prefer to do it because I like things to be ready in a format that I can easily access and ready to go. So I started out with my intro slide. I took my students through the welcome. I took my students through the agenda. They need to know what they're going to be covering with me. When we have morning meeting, this is the time for us to collaborate and get to know me. Then we venture off into our first read aloud, which happens to go great with the fact that I'm a Christian teacher and I'm implementing worship. From there, we have a discussion. And then from our discussion, my students will feel connected with each other and connected with me. After that, we have our first activity. This is a time, find someone where they can get up, walk around, and be able to get to know each other a little bit better. Now this is the first transition where I'm teaching them about how to eat their snack. Well, the procedures that we use for eating their snack. I don't need to teach them how to eat, but also because we'll be back in the classroom on this day, I will be teaching them what not to do with current pandemic. And then for our brain break, I will be implementing another link which I have here. I like to use Go Noodle. And then from there, this is the time after we do that brain break and snack where I would be introducing them to me, okay? Then from there, recess, lunch, our next read aloud. I had already purchased this on TPT, and so she created a digital product. I have the book already. Then again, using my little Bitmoji to keep the kids engaged, we would just go through this step by step, which I really love. And then when you click on stuff, it's cool because then it'll, you know, it's interactive. This is where the kids can talk about what the year is going to be like, and because I teach 2 grade levels, I have one for 3rd as well as 4th. Okay, then this is another talking point for my students, things that they've gotten to know about each other better, and then we transition into a unified classroom. It's very important to me. This is something that I created that I told you guys about in my first week of activities, class rules, and it's a PowerPoint already, so that was easy to implement. This goes back to gathering all your back to school materials and deciding what you want to do. And then after we have our brain break, we review the rule, which is why the slides are different colors, okay? Another resource that I bought off of TPT. And then after that, I'm giving them another brain break. We would go outside during this time, get some fresh air. And then if you're wondering how I implemented these GIFs, if that's a GIF, a GIF, however you want to pronounce it, this is just from Google. So basically, all I did was I type in workout GIF or GIF or whatever, and then you can choose from here and insert it. Another way to do that is to just decide what image you want to use. Like over here, you can insert image, and then you can do it by the web, and that's how I found these cuties. Then we're going into our next read aloud, and it's the name jar. And again, there's the same template that I used over and over again, but what I did was I downloaded my picture again, and then of course changed all my discussion questions. Okay, our project, which goes with the name jar, is here. And then let me show you something cool about your Bitmoji. So one of the things that I noticed was that in this slideshow, I'm kind of facing the same way, and I want to kind of like make this a little bit bigger, and we want to center it. And then I want to make my Bitmoji bigger. So I'm pointing. Okay, so I like things to be switched up a little bit. So let's say that I want my Bitmoji to actually face the other way. Okay, you would click on your image and you would format it, and we want to rotate it, right? So there we go, we flipped my Bitmoji, and that way it doesn't look the same as the slide before that. And then I also did different colors, like this is orange. I think it's still bothering me that she's that close. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then let's just line this little guy up a little bit better. Okay, so that way your slide looks a little bit different. That's how you can do that. Same template, and then for reading activity, I just did something a little bit different. Let's say that we wanted this to have my Bitmoji again. I'm going to go into my extension, and then I'm going to type in read, and I like to use this one. I'm just going to copy and paste. And then let's put me here. And So then I have that. That way it looks a little bit more interesting. And then let's say that I wanted to change the color of my slides. I'm engaged, and they're going to be engaged by looking at different colors, because that's what keeps me engaged, because I get pretty bored myself. So if we do this, then it kind of keeps them, you know, looking to see like, oh, what's going to be on the next slide? What is Mrs. Jingles going to show us? I'm excited, right? So there you have it. So I like that better, right? Okay. And then our procedures, and let me just show you what it looks like in presentation mode. When you hit play, then the transition into the slides looks like this. It's just fun. And all I did was, like I said, make these background images. Fire drill procedures, team challenge that I told you about, and then our end of the day dismissal procedures, class meeting, and then that's it. Now, I will say this to you. I'm still working on things, and I think that I'll be changing these into pictures instead of just words. So there's pictures here, but because the words are here, I probably will create slides that have pictures so that the kids, again, are engaged. All right, so that's my entire slideshow for Monday, and I would do the same thing for the rest of the week. When I first started planning for back to school, I knew I needed to convert all of these things and make it accessible. This method has worked for me, and I wanted to share my process with you. All right, so you made it to the end of the video. And Chewy wanted to say hello. If you don't know, I'm a giddy mama. If you found value in today's video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video.